gonna get a little bit comfortable here, so don't mind me. We're doing it the OG way. Let's go. From now on, in this channel, I am gonna talk about my thoughts on the logical things that I or other people doesn't really believe anymore that has improved our life for the better. Basically, I'm yapping and just talking about the fact that frequency defies rationality. So in this video, we're gonna discuss why not questioning your beliefs will ruin your life or is ruining your life. Anyways, I'm trying a different approach to YouTube since I am so tired of figuring out how the YouTube algorithm works. I'm tired of the framework, methods, BS. I know that those are important, but I just want to trust myself more and in you guys more. I trust that I will find my community out there without me having to do all the things that doesn't really align with myself, without me having to fake everything, script everything just to get the algorithm to push me a little bit more forward. Now, we're just gonna act like we're FaceTiming, okay? Let's go. Anyways, this is the problem that not only have I seen others go through, but also obviously this has happened to me because I've just recently discovered about the power of your mind, the power of your thoughts. But I've lived most of my time in this life without knowing how life works. The fact that your thought will literally create the reality that you want. And that goes for a lot of people, right? Usually, we will do anything to fix a problem in this physical life, whether that be being more productive, being more emotional, fighting your way and your spirit through the problems, trying to find something that you can do, some action that you can take to flip the script. But notice how we didn't really do that to our internal state too. We only do that in the physical world. You want your life to be a highlights of moments. So you go posting online on a highlighted life that's actually not yours. That's only a curated version of how you want others to perceive you. Trying so hard to make everything look good from the outside, but you're doing nothing to change your actual reality, the current life that you're dealing with right now. You're not doing anything to actually create that dream life, a reality. You need the money, so you ended up working more and in putting more hours and in return more stress, not realizing that money is energy in the first place. But this all happened because that's just the way it is, right? Everyone is also trying their best to look good on social media, to make it seem like their life is all peaceful and fun, trying so hard to make it seem like they can afford anything in this world. That's the standard of the world that we live in right now, and that's also why a lot of us are miserable, just because we are less aware of the things that we choose to be true in this life. We ended up in this miserable state just like the majority of people in this world. So again, what happens is anything that we see going wrong in this life, we see it as a mistake that we did in the physical world or an action that we haven't taken. And we're so brainwashed by society to the point where we don't even realize that action in itself is created by thought. Without you having a thought in the first place, you won't take that action. There's not gonna be an action without thought. And when we try to fix our action, it's literally like us trying to fix the effect with the effect. But we all know that if you want to change the outcome, if you want to change the effect, you need to fix the cause. You need to find the root of the cause first. And that cause is the thoughts that you have, is the beliefs that you had in the first place. The set of beliefs that are accumulated throughout our years of living in this world. Now again, as I've mentioned in the beginning of this video, I am also a victim of this, not long ago. So I'm going to talk about my experience of how I fight fire with fire, if that's the metaphor for it. So I grew up in an Asian household, and if you're an Asian yourself, most likely you are taught to save your money, not spend it recklessly, look for discounts, look for bargains, and see money as this sacred thing that is very rare, is not widely available anywhere, and you have to really hold it tightly, preciously, otherwise it's going to be gone by tomorrow. Money doesn't grow on trees. Yep, that is also what I used to believe. That is one self belief that has consumed the majority of my life. And of course, I don't want to put a blame on my parents, on the people that has taught me about this way of thinking, because they're also gaslighted and they haven't even seen the other side of the coin or the truth themselves. And so the reality that I was dealing with at that point in my life was also not much. Let me be for real. Although I was young, I have no experience in making money at all. I've seen how my parents struggle, and I think myself has developed that the belief that money is hard to find, money is sacred. You cannot spend it recklessly because it's so hard to attain money. And also during that time in my life, I would say I was not the happiest. Matter of fact, I think, the most miserable I've ever been. There's a lot of other accumulated set of beliefs that are just not it. I'm almost at home all the time. just not having any motivation, doom scrolling, not knowing what to do with my life, all of those things, right? And yeah, some of you might think that that doesn't have anything to do with money. But let me tell you what happens when I reframe that belief. I would say that all of these beliefs, logical thoughts that you have, is not always a bad thing, because it could also just show you another perspective that you wouldn't have discovered in the first place if you didn't go through that realizations, that phase of you realizing that you have been doing things the wrong way this whole time. In my case, the thought that money is lack in the first place, of course, prompted me to find a way to make more money. Funny enough, I did thought about putting in more hours, working more, all of those things, but I had the realization that I really am an entrepreneur from a young age. Again, I think that has something to do with me wanting more money. I wouldn't say that the people who wanted more money will always be an entrepreneur. No, people have different set of beliefs. People just have different way of doing things and they have different passions, right? In my case, I figured out that I was actually interested in building my own business. The desire to have more money is the main driving point of me building a business or wanting to build a business. But I would say also that my personality plays a big role in pushing me towards this direction. I just love to do things. I don't really like to be clueless and bored, and that's why the time where I don't know what I'm doing with my life, I was the most miserable. So yeah, anyways, I go down the path of being an entrepreneur. It is not easy, okay? Generally, I have not figured it out up until this point. Now I'm building my third business, or maybe second business, because the first business, it was not a business. I tried to make it as a business, but it's not a business if you haven't got any sale and you give up before you've gotten your first sale. Anyways, that's another story in itself. But of course, like being an entrepreneur, you have to force yourself to become another person, an identity that you are not used to. And that also means that I have to reframe my belief into thinking that money is widely abundant. Because let's be real, your business is not going to be successful if you don't have the belief in your head that your business is going to be successful in the first place. So I think, again, this happens after my first failed attempt at business. I didn't got any sale, and that's where I figured that it's all because of the thoughts that I have in my head. I didn't fully believe that I could make it. I didn't even believe that what I'm selling at that point is worthy enough for someone to use it, to wear it, to purchase it in the first place. I didn't believe that I was worthy to receive the money. And I think, again, during those times, even though I am building a business, I'm still very much in the lack energy. I still have a lot of those limiting beliefs, and that's why I didn't get any sale. And yeah, looking back at it now, it is definitely a manifestation of my beliefs and my thoughts. That is the byproduct of the universe literally projecting my thoughts into real life. Since then, I've learned so much. I practice gratitude, but also more importantly, I assess my belief, reframe it into thinking that money is widely abundant, that it is literally an energy, just like any other energy. You can pull it towards you, and it's infinite, right? That's when I started seeing money flowing in. I went from $0, not making money at all, to having my first part-time job, to leaving that part-time job to open my second business, to, again, dealing with the beginning stage of building a business, feeling that you're not worthy enough, you're insecure, making $0 to the point where you feel like you're worthy enough, reframe the hell out of that belief, and then immediately hitting the first 5 figures after making $0 for so long. And I felt most alive. I think I was able to travel with my friends, go to concerts. I've never been to concerts before, but I'm a huge music fanatic, and I was able to go attend my favorite artists' concerts. I love concerts so much. And I was able to also travel with my family on a vacation. That was really fun. It was just amazing, right? And that's literally all happened simply because I decided to flip the switch, reframe all of my beliefs, and shift into a new identity. Because when you reframe all of your old beliefs, you ultimately become a new person. You have a new identity. The old version of you who still had all of those beliefs or limiting beliefs, they are no longer there, meaning that you've transformed into another identity. And yeah, ever since then, I experienced a lot of good things. I have also learned a lot of hard things, like the fact that my second business, the one that got me to 5 figures, is also the reason why I was being so miserable. And I think that's also because, again, there's just the act of reviewing your beliefs and creating a new set of beliefs. It will happen for most of your life. It's not a stagnant thing where you're just reviewing it one time and then your life will be completely fine for the rest of your life. No, it is a constant journey of just refixing things, viewing, assessing how this fits into your life. And if you don't like an aspect aspect of your life, then you go back and change the narrative, right? Same with business. Like if you see the data, if you see the number, okay, we're doing 3 types of content. One goes viral but doesn't really land with our target audience. The other one is semi-successful but is really successful in terms of sales, and then the third one doesn't really do anything. Then you're gonna assess all of that, the numbers. You're gonna choose which content that you want to choose as either your content pillar or just your type of content, right? Again, that's why I say in the beginning of this video, we usually, in our physical world, we look at the physical thing that is happening to us and we try to fix it by taking some form of action, right? We can also do the same for our beliefs. The moment you do that, it's really not shocking, but it's just really cool to see every piece of thoughts and belief that you have in your mind come to life. The life that you are living right now is just a byproduct of your thoughts. People say that a lot because it is true, but sometimes that could go also in the wrong direction, especially if you're a very goal and motivated person like me. You will think that, okay, these are the byproduct of my thoughts, so if I'm not achieving anything right now, there's something wrong with me, right? There's something that I need to fix in my brain, right? That's also not what I want to preach in this video. I don't want you to see that, okay, well, my life is fucked because all this time I have a limiting belief about my confidence, about the people around me, about money, about whatever it is, and I need to fix it right now. There's something wrong in my brain. Now, please don't be like that, because there is also a gap or like a time delay before the thought manifests into the reality that you're seeing right now. Because what happens if all of your thought manifests at the same time? You can imagine how chaotic your life could be, or all of our life could be, right? So not every thought is always going to manifest in an instant, but the subconscious thought that you held for a certain period of time, the thought that you maintain long enough, that you held so tightly, that become your identity, will eventually become your reality. So this is where like you have to learn how to be a little bit more balanced. You have to learn to assess whether or not this is a byproduct of your thought, or it's just the universe is putting a time delay. It is preparing something better for you in the future, and you just have to be patient and trust that everything is going well. If you go too much to each side, you'll feel miserable either way. If all of your thoughts are negative, miserable, then you're gonna create that life. But if your thought is also revolving around being afraid that you're not good enough or you can't even manifest in the first place, that's also a bad thing, right? So you want to balance the scale and try to have the balance of understanding where your beliefs come from, what beliefs you want to hold for yourself, what limiting belief you want to let go of, and then finally, with that, trust in the universe and of course yourself. You are already creating your dream life, and your dream life is on its way, secured for you. The remedy of all of this is pretty simple. By treating your beliefs just as important as whatever you're doing in your current physical world. So if you can work 8 hours a day, you can apply the same idea, putting more internal work by assessing your current beliefs, seeing whether or not that's derived from others, seeing where did that belief come from in the first place. Usually with any beliefs that I had, firstly, I either select it as a limiting belief or a belief that I want to hold. If that belief is purely mine, or maybe it's also derived from others, but I want to keep that, then I'm not going to bother that. But with the limiting belief part, usually I also would like to assess where did it came from, not simply just reframing it, but before you want to reframe it, again, you have to know the cause, right? So you want to see like what actually is birthing this belief in the first place. For example, I have the belief that if you want to have more money, you need to work more hours. Where did that belief come from? Usually it always stems from the experience that we have in this physical reality. So again, while I was making a lot of money, I also work a ton of hours. And that's where I developed this new set of limiting belief, where I believe that the more money that came to you, the more that you will have to not only work in terms of hours, but also work your mind, exert your energy, because there's just so much that you need to deal with. There's a lot of stress. That's just what I believe after seeing the reality that I've experienced. And then that belief, again, just popped because of that experience. And that's why it is important to also assess where is it coming from, so that you exactly know where to reframe that belief in the first place. Now that I know, okay, I think that making a lot of money is hard because I deal with a lot of stress while making it, then I'm gonna reframe the belief, or I'm gonna create a new belief that if you want to get more money, you don't always have to be so stressful. There's always an easier way that money will come to you if you choose to believe so. And yeah, also again, putting trust in the universe, selecting things that you want to let go of is really important in backing up your set of beliefs, because you don't want to overanalyze. You want to start trusting in yourself more. You can do this anytime you feel like your life is going into the direction that you don't want it to go. If you want to tweak your life, you want to spice things up, or if you want to create like a more specific schedule like monthly, or I wouldn't say weekly because you tend to overanalyze and obsess over it if you do it too frequently. So anytime you want to make a shift on your life, this is a great practice for you to do. So this is a research homework that you're doing for your school, or I don't know, just any research. This is really simple. Okay, you just need maximum like 1 hour of journaling this, dumping everything that you have on top of your head to a paper, or if you like to type, then you can do so. Those however minutes that you assess your beliefs will undoubtedly change your life for the better. Okay, even if it's a very small change that you see onto your life, that's still a win anyway. That is still a change in your life, right? I think that's the end of the session about reviewing your beliefs and making a new set of beliefs, which in return will help you create a new dream life. Let me know if you like this kind of video. I am definitely, I would say, more calm, and I enjoy making this kind of video overall because there's not really, again, much pressure in figuring out if framework is good enough for the algorithm. I don't know. Like, I don't want to be a hypocrite where I preach about define the logical things and started to follow your own path while I focus too much on like the algorithm and things like that, right? I don't want to be that kind of girl. And besides, it is tiring. If you guys have any similar experiences, if you guys have maybe any objections with what I said, anything that I haven't mentioned, any discussions, anything basically, just drop it in the comments below. Let's build a community. Let's support each other because we should not go through life alone, okay? We should spice things up. We should make life hella fun, and a community will really, really help along the way, of course, with this journey of creating your life and just going through life. And anyways, hope you had a great rest of your day. Nice talking to you, and I'll see you in my next video.